Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm joined by Paraplegic, and we're going to be ranking every DOU format that's just like DOU. So we're doing, starting with Gen 3, we're doing Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5, Gen 6, etc. to Gen 9. So all the current Gen plus old Gen formats of standard DOU. This is going to be a really interesting video. Para's been playing for a lot longer than I have, so he has a little bit of a different perspective than I do. But there are definitely some consensuses within the community about which formats are good and which ones are questionable. But yeah, this should be a
I'm
really
an
fun video.
interesting
Go ahead.
I'm an interesting guest for this because I have different takes than like literally everybody. So
Let's
this
go.
list probably isn't going to be indicative of the general consensus if you go
Valid.
with my.
Yeah, nice. All right, so I was very lazy when I made this tier list because I spent like the last like week writing a post. So we're having one Pokemon representing each tier. So each Pokemon like represents the gen they were introduced in. So Metagross is Gen 3, Heatran's Gen 4, this is Gen 5, Gen 6, Gen 7, Gen 8, and Gen 9, in order. So we're gonna start with how I guess we're gonna do this is first I think we're gonna like put them on the tier, like each tier that we think they're in, and then at the end we'll like debate and like go try to come up with like a definitive order, um, and try to reach some kind of agreement here. So we're gonna start with Gen 3. And now this format is basically not canon. It's about 4 years old. And I do think this tier has like gotten a lot better recently. It used to be like really bad, but it's actually pretty enjoyable. But it's still like Mickey because it has different mechanics than like every other DOU format, such as like when your Pokemon fades, you have to switch in immediately, which is interesting. Like it's a different way to play Mons. I think it's like C or B tier to me. It's like it's not bad, but like it's just different and not really. I don't know. What is your take on Gen 3?
Gen 3 is actually my least favorite generation out of all of them. Uh, I just think they hadn't nailed down the mechanics for doubles yet, and so a lot of stuff is not intuitive, doesn't really make sense.
Yeah,
And it feels very coin flippy when a lot of games like boil down to it. To
yeah,
me,
I agree. Um, I'll put it down at C, maybe D. We'll see where it lands. It's like it's not even really fair to compare it to these other tiers because these other tiers are just like more fleshed out and like you said they have better mechanics. And I think Team Preview and adding the fairy type were like two of the best changes to ever happen to DOU formats. And ADV has neither of those.
I would argue Team Preview and the like hacks mechanic changes from Generation 5 to Generation 6 were the most impactful to
Okay,
me.
yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Okay, so DPP. I think this is like after the T Wave ban. This tier, I hated this tier for context. Before Thunderwave got banned, it was like actually just miserable. I like could not have fun playing this format. I think it's better now. I think it's definitely a step up from ADV. Like the mechanics are not quite as like Mickey, but it's still no team preview, no fairy gen. So I feel like there's like a cap on how good the format can be, if that makes sense. Um,
Um, I have a differing perspective again. I actually am quite big on DPP as
mhm.
far as the old quote unquote fake tiers go, because it's a haven for like balance and bulky offense compared to most of the generations, and it's right up my alley. So I actually enjoy it quite a bit.
Yeah, that's fair. I like DPP the most. I think out of the three non fairy gens. The next one, I guess I'll move. I think DPP's A tier. That's fair. BW. Now this format is very controversial. I'm a personal hater of this format, but some people really like it. I think my take on this format is like it just needs like a ban or two, but otherwise like it's not that bad. It just feels like very VGC esque in terms of just like not having many bans. Um, and but it's even more dumb because you have like Genesect around. You're a lot more well versed in this format. What are your takes on this format?
This is where I start having actual familiarity with them.
Hmm.
Um, I'm I'm I have a love-hate relationship with BW. On one hand, it's one of my favorites to sit there and just play for fun.
Hmm.
Uh, the dynamics of the tier are like all offense all the time, blow up your opponent quicker than you get blown up. It's fun. But the second you get the wrong critical hit landed on you or something and it ruins your entire game flow, it becomes one of the least fun to play for me. And so I hate playing it in tournament in any fashion or variety. So I have middling feelings on this tier, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I'll stick it in B tier, kind of for similar reasons. I think in general with like these three formats, my thing with them is like they're all like really fun to play in like a casual setting. Um, Even like ADV, like I think is like really fun if you're just like playing it for fun. But as soon as you
Yeah.
like play them in a tournament, it becomes like very clear that these formats are just not quite as competitive as some of the later ones. Um,
Yeah, it's so stressful to load up in a tournament game because you know luck can entirely swing out of your hands, and sometimes it feels like there's nothing you can do about it.
yeah, yeah. All right, I'm gonna do a little bit of an adjustment here. I'm gonna move these guys down. I might switch it up later, but I think this is like the order that I would put them in. And I think this is like
That's fair.
fairly reasonable. All right, XY. I actually I was like a long time hater of this format, but then I tried it and it was actually like really fun. I think like this is when like the mechanics start to get like a lot more enjoyable. Um, I think like there's a lot of variety you can do with this tier, but I think it doesn't really get framed that way. Usually, when people tell you about XY, it's like, oh, it's just like the big three or whatever, and like thunderous, landerous, volcanian. But I think like this format has like a lot to offer. I think like this is definitely towards the top of my list here, but I'm not sure if I like it more than the ones that come later. So it's like high B, low A to me. What do you think?
Okay, so it's spelled Oras A or ORASS to me. I hate this generation. Um, it's boring to me. Like you said, an odd or sorry, let me gather my thoughts. Okay. A common criticism of this generation is that like there's only so many Pokemon that are good,
Yeah,
and you kind of have to use. And there's room for like optimizations within their move sets or techs or whatever to try to catch people off guard within the framework of those mons. But I don't enjoy playing this tier because it just feels so limited compared to every other gen to me.
yeah,
I like building. It's not fun to me.
that's fair. I think like I started enjoying XY more when I just started like breaking all the rules and like not like listening to anything anyone had ever told me about the format. Um, yeah, I'll move it. I'm gonna move it down comparable to DPP. We'll figure out the exact ordering later, but I do think like after like I tend to agree with you. I think like the later formats are like really like a little bit just they just have like a little bit more. Um, but I think like I definitely enjoy it more than like BW and ADV just because the mechanics are just better. Um, uh,
Mechanically, it's definitely better than the previous generations, but
yeah,
like I said, I feel like the pool of megas uh, compared to like the rest of the available cast just centralizes everything in ways that's very undesirable to me.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's like a benefit of Gen 7, which we're gonna get to right now. I think Gen 7 like really like benefited from getting Kangaskhan and like Gengar out of the tier. So because XY is like really like dominated by those two megas. There's also like a couple others that are good, like a Deancy's pretty good, Salamence is all right. But in Gen 7, like the two like dumbest megas are gone, and I think that like really helps. I really like Gen 7. I think it's like it might be the number one format for me. Um, I think it's like I just like the way it plays. It has like a lot of the stuff I really like about XY, but like better. um, yeah, I really like this one. What are your like? Where would you like rank this?
I love Sun and Moon. It's my second favorite generation. Conversely to XY, it feels like you can get away with using almost anything.
Uh huh.
The combination of the introduction of Z moves and the mega speed mechanic changes really open things up, along with the banning of Kangaskhan and later Gengar, like you said. Uh, But I think the addition of Z moves in particular really allowed you to use a lot of things that otherwise like aren't good.
Yeah.
But and like obviously some things benefited from the mechanic a lot better than others. But you had things like Como omni boosting while damaging both opponents on the other team. You had things like Z conversion Porygon, which could change into whatever type you wanted to while omni boosting. And you had stuff like that, which made it really cool and fun to build in. And the mega speed changes, like I said, were huge because you had things like Mega Gross instantly getting base 110. It wasn't fun when Gengar was in the tier, but we removed that.
Yeah, valid. Yeah, this format's great. I love it. Um, it's also like it just has a lot of things that like make it unique. Like um, the 50% berries are like really broken, but I think it's another thing that like adds to like the identity of Gen 7. Um, in a lot of ways, I just
I
feel
miss
like it,
those.
it takes what I like about Gen 6 and kind of like gets rid of the stuff I don't like about Gen 6 at the same time. Um,
I think that's a really valid take.
yeah. I'm gonna put this in S. I really like it. All right. Now Gen 8. I know you really like this tier. I'll let you go first.
Okay, this is my favorite tier. Um, I understand a lot of people dislike it, but I am a huge, huge fan of this tier. It is very balanced. People love to complain about a couple of the offensive threats within this tier, but like neglect to mention how balance is the predominant playstyle. Fake out spam really gives you like a barrier versus anything except side spam, but you have plans for that. And like balance rules the tier. I love that.
Yeah, I think that's like the stuff I really like about it. I really like fake out as a move. I like the way it like it creates positioning and stuff. And I think Gen 8, at least when it was like current, was absolutely like maybe the most fun I've ever had playing DOU. I'm gonna put it in A. And now the reason for this is not because of like what Gen 8 was when it was current gen, because I thought it was just great. But I think like ever since it was current, there's been this like offensification of Gen 8. Like there's like Dracovish Rain everywhere now. Size spam is like done better, and those are like a couple of things that I just like not as big a fan of in this format. I still think it's really great, but I just don't really like it quite as much as I used to. Um, it's definitely maybe the most balanced DOU format though. I like there's not really anything I would change about it. Um, I think Urshifu is like a little dumb, but like Rillaboom is also like the goat, so like it doesn't really matter that much. I also really like
Yeah, Urshifu is contained within the framework of SSDOU. I maintain that.
Valid. I also really like Pokemon like Mew and Zeraora a lot, and I think that's like another thing that's really cool about this format. In Gen 7, Zeraora is like there, but it's really cringe because it's just clicking like it's just this really bulky AV set that's just annoying. In Gen 8, the Zeraora clicks coaching, and it's pretty fire. Um, but yeah, I do really like this tier. I'm just rating it a little lower because like I think some of the changes that have happened to it post current gen are not very great. If this was current gen, granted I was only around for like a couple months when it was current gen, but I would have absolutely put it like up here. It might even still be S. But anyways, the last format we have here to rank is SV. Now I have like really complicated uh, feelings on this format. I feel like I've gone up and down on this tier like so much over time. I think my like take right now is it's like it's okay. Um, it's not it's not like super exciting to me, but like it's relatively okay. There's like I don't really like Arcalodon. I don't really like Pow that much, but I think it's like it's okay. Like I think I like it more than XY, just like marginally right now. Um, but I would put Gen 8 and Gen 7 ahead of it. What do you think?
Um, I have mixed feelings on SV too. I only get to experience it every few months the way I play the game nowadays.
Valid.
And every time I come back, it feels like it's an entirely different format. Like the dominant playstyles have changed pretty dramatically
Mm-hmm.
every time. Um, I was I was a decent fan of the metagame this past World Cup because it felt like bulkier playstyles were viable again.
Yeah.
But towards the end, that still felt kind of shaky. And the tournament before that, I absolutely hated the tier. It like disgusted me.
Mm-hmm.
So I would probably rank it pretty middling in my personal rankings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. I'll bump it down to like B tier. Um, it's just like it feels like maybe the most offensive oriented tier. I feel like
I think BW is more
okay,
offensive,
that's
but
fair.
beyond that, yeah, no.
But of like I think it's one of the more offensive ones. It's like which does mean that like some of like the bulkier stuff is honestly like a little bit better because it can kind of take advantage of it like a little bit. Um, but the problem is like the offense in like SV, the mods have so much stats that like they're not even frail anymore. um,
There's like 12 mons that if you put them in any other generation, they're getting banned without a second thought. And now we're just like collectively, yeah, these are all okay.
yeah, this is okay. This is fine. We don't want to do 10 suspects. It's okay. Trust. Yeah. I think this is a pretty reasonable list. I have Gen 7 at the top. I think like this is like undeniably like one of the most beloved formats of DOU. I think like most people would either have it like first or like second or third. Um, then I have Gen 8. I think this one's like maybe a little bit more controversial, but I think like actually playing the tier is like really enjoyable. I think like the in-game experience is really good, and I think you get rewarded for good play in Gen 8 in a way that like you really don't in some other formats. Um, I think the B tier is really where the questions are, right? Um, I have SV, then XY, then DPP. How would you rank these three?
Do me a favor and at least put DPP over XY. If you have to have it in the middle of the rankings, at least put it at the bottom of the middle.
All right, fair. Fair. I can see, I can get behind that. I think yeah, the DPP changes have made the tier like really good. Um, I really enjoyed playing DPP. I don't really like play it very often, but like when people like challenge me for games in this format, like I have a good time. It could honestly even go above SV right now, but I think like I have a higher familiarity with SV, so I'm going to be a little bit biased and rank it higher. Um, yeah,
Valid.
I think this is good. I think like before I made this video, Ninja Apple was like, "You better not have ADV at the bottom," and unfortunately, I have ADV at the bottom.
Do you want to put ADV with BW and just not have a D rank?
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think these are pretty close in my eyes, anyways. Um, delete row.
I think.
But yeah, this is our ranking. I think there are no DOU formats I would say are objectively bad now. I think like a lot of the I think DPP and ADVs like bans that happened earlier this year like really helped a lot. People who watched like videos I made on those formats earlier this year would know that I absolutely hated those formats and was basically crashing out when I recorded videos on them. Um, but yeah, I think this is a pretty good list. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of expected this to be longer, but honestly, there's like not that much to say about this. I think we have a good ranking here. Any final thoughts on the tiers here?
Um, to me personally, SS is the best and ORAS is the worst, but I think these are generally agreeable rankings.
Valid, valid. Anyways, yeah, thanks for watching. Thank you for Para for hopping on for this quick video. And yeah, hopefully I'll make more videos soon. We'll see. I don't know. Let's see.